can't accept the loss, I'm hard-headed. There's a little bit of madness to my method. Many falling off that fine line that I'm treading. I risk anything to be great, and I'm not letting nobody rob me of my victory. Number one, that's what I'm meant to be. When by any means, only thing that makes sense.
All right, here we go. It is episode 9 of the Red, White, and Crew podcast. Gentlemen, what's going on?
How we doing? Just loving all the soccer.
Yeah.
And glad to be back in God's country of Houston, back south in rural Texas, and ready to enjoy a full day of football today.
Spoken like a man up in DFW for the last week, huh?
Well, once I crossed back south of I-20 and got back into Texas, I was happy.
Yeah. Rafa, what's going on, buddy?
Not much here in the heat of West Texas.
Feeling
on the border.
The nerves, a little jittery tonight's match? What do you think? No.
Oh, no, just they're playing the backups, so.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, we're going to get into that because I think that's the trickiest part of that matchup tonight, right? Is like everyone's kind of wondering, it's like, what is Aguirre going to play? So, but yeah, so matchups just wrapped up. We had Switzerland prevailing over Canada, 2-0, 2-1? 2-1, right? 2-1. Yeah, and then Bosnia-Herzegovina over Qatar 3-1. So before we dive in on the rest of the matches for today, thoughts on these? We'll start with you, Rafa.
Important game for Canada, trying to win the group, but it looks like they're going to have to travel down south, so they don't get to host like a couple of the other teams. So,
would you say, Brian, LA? They go to SoFi, right? SoFi?
They will go to SoFi, yep.
SoFi, yeah. Interesting matchup. Interesting. Switzerland, I'm still trying to figure out. The jury is still out on Switzerland, so I'll be curious to see who they match up with in that being the Group B winner, right? So, because it's kind of like I want to like lean on them a little bit towards kind of some maybe potential dark horse tendencies, but they're just that, they're tendencies. So, and then Bosnia, Qatar, Bosnia finally got going, finally started scoring 3-1. Our understanding, based upon results, pending certain results for tomorrow, but it looks like that probability goes up significantly higher that the U.S. men's national team could match up versus Bosnia and Herzegovina on the round of 32, which would be July 1st at Levi Stadium there in Santa Clara. I'm trying to remember what day of the week July 1st is, but I think it's like
Wednesday.
Sunday, Monday, Wednesday?
July 1st is Wednesday.
Wednesday, yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was way off. So thoughts on either one of these from your perspective, Brian? I know you were going back and forth on these. Give us a little perspective on potential U.S. matchup with Bosnia and Herzegovina winning. What we kind of expected over Qatar, we just didn't know how they would win, but they emerged victorious over Qatar 3-1.
I mean, and it's not the golden generation of Bosnia anymore. Not their big studs that they've had in the past. I know they still have Edin Dzeko over there leading, but they looked very pedestrian in the second quarter. Qatar really ran at them, had a lot of spaces, they were able to exploit a lot of spaces that Bosnia gave Qatar, and then second half, Qatar had a lot of possession, had some good possession, had some good opportunities, just could not find the equalizer, and then Bosnia was able to get them. I don't know if it was more bad goalkeeping from Qatar than it was good goal. I mean, the first goal from Bosnia was a great goal, but then second goal was an own goal, and then the third goal was one that deflected a couple times. So, I think Bosnia will pose its own types of problems, different than any other team would for the U.S. They're big, they're strong. I don't think they have a whole lot of speed compared to the U.S. or really compared to Canada or Switzerland in that sense. They're going to be organized, they're going to be physical, and it'll be a tough matchup for the U.S.
So, Elias, your perspective, right? Particularly, I'm kind of curious your thoughts on Switzerland, right? They emerge as Group B winner, which I think most of us kind of had. Some people were maybe thinking Canada, but thoughts on this Switzerland team? Do you feel like they're kind of figuring things out now as the knockout rounds arrive?
Yeah, they're an interesting team. They they put 4 on Bosnia in that other game. They let Qatar hang around. It kind of seemed like a cat playing with its food in that first game where, Qatar came and got that. I believe it was a header goal right at the end, right, to go 1-1. They do seem to be kind of lacking that real creative outlet. I think I heard one of the commentators talking about they miss a Shaqiri type player that's kind of a little bit of a maverick. That's going to kind of put the game, kind of on their shoulders. But they seem to be well organized. They've got, obviously solid players that are going to, they're not going to get blown out, I don't think, by anybody. And I think we're seeing in these games, if you can keep things close, you have no idea what's going to happen in all of these games. I mean, it's insane the levels of parity we're seeing in this World Cup. Even in the score lines, maybe. I mean, there's obviously big gaps in talent, but I think that there's a lot of teams that are dark horses now with the way that these games are going on. I mean,
Right.
if you can hold it 0-0 in a group stage, why can't you do it in a knockout game? And if once you get to extra time, are they going to do water breaks in extra time, right? Or are we going to get 7-minute quarters in extra time? But then you're just holding on and you're getting to getting the shootouts, and we know that anything can happen at that point. So, they've been, I think that they've been convincing in their performances. If you're looking at the statistics, I have it pulled up here. I mean, against Qatar, they were 3 expected goals to 0.5. Against Bosnia and Herzegovina, they were, I believe it was 1.8, so basically 2 to 0.3. And I know XG doesn't necessarily tell the whole story, right? I think that we kind of over rely on statistics, but it does give you an insight to the type of chances each team are creating, right? So it looks like they did outplay both of their opponents. And then I would assume that the statistics would tell a similar story today.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think anybody has topped my my boys at Tunisia that had the .01 expected goals that I told you about. I was like, I saw that. I had to do a double take. I was like, I was going to send it to you guys, take a screenshot, because I was like, I don't think I've ever actually seen that. Not at this level, at least. So pretty interesting stuff. So, all right, we're going to go ahead. We're going to dive in here. So we're going to take a look at, so we've talked about Switzerland and Canada, along with Bosnia and Herzegovina, our 2 matches. Again, we are in the final match day 3, the final matches of group play. So, of course, at this point, at this stage, to avoid any competitive advantage or disadvantage, you'll see both group matches be played simultaneously. So that starts today, and that will run through Saturday. So up next, we have one that I know particularly interested Rafa. We have Scotland versus Brazil. I know you'll be watching this one closely. Thoughts on Scotland versus Brazil, because this could be whoever falls from this into that 3rd place slot could be the potential matchup for Mexico. Rafa?
Yeah, this is an interesting game here. I mean, Brazil with a win, they'll win the group. A loss could knock them down to the 3rd spot, and maybe a matchup going to Mexico City, possibly playing, like I said, Mexico. Scotland, like I said, still opportunity to win, even though they'll need some help. With the Morocco, like I said, either tying or losing to Haiti. Morocco's, like I said, they're in very good shape, just getting a point. But like I said, more likely they're going to get the win. But it may come down to goal differential if Brazil does win there, since they both tied. So they're going to have to run up that score on Haiti like what Brazil did the last game. So, but Brazil's got their hands full. So they know that Scotland's going to bring it. They're at a desperate spot because, like I said, they don't want to, even with goal differential, that can affect Scotland for even knocking them out too. So it's a lot at stake here in Group C.
Yeah, don't discount the Scotland squad, man. Just because this is not the Brazil that we know, that we grew up with. This is a Brazil very much still. The only thing that gives me any sort of kind of peace of mind with Brazil is that Ancelotti is there. The problem is he hasn't been there very long at all, right? So what that's like, they still have to go for it, right? So is this a Brazil that can really turn it on and grow into the tournament? And this is a Scotland team that is definitely looks like it's getting better, right? So and here's the other thing though too is like part of me is cheering for Scotland to go to Mexico, play Mexico right in the round of 32 because then we know Scotland, Mexico in Azteca Stadium in Mexico City, all the beer in a metropolis of 20 plus million people will still be gone, right? So we're all cheering for that. We all want to see that, but we'll see how that goes, right? Interesting one. We'll come back to that. Morocco and Haiti. Brian, your thoughts on this? This has kind of been a Morocco squad that 1 minute I feel like, okay, this is the Morocco that we've come to see over the last 4 years, and then the other times they have me scratching my head. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I watched them against Brazil in the first 20 minutes. I thought they were the best team of the tournament based on that first 20 minutes, the way they kind of ran Brazil all over the place. And then watching them in the second half against Scotland, it kind of made me wonder, who was this team? Real Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde here. I do think they'll beat Haiti today.
Yeah. Scotland took it to them, man. Scotland took
Yeah,
it
they
to 'em.
did.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a real close game. I think Haiti will not roll over. Haiti's going to play for a lot of. They're playing with a lot of national pride, and they're going to play. They're going to play Morocco tough. They played Scotland tough. That second half they played Brazil tough. You can just tell there is a big difference between a country like Haiti and a country like Brazil, and I think you'll see that today against Morocco. But I do think it'll be close. I think maybe a 2-0, 2-1 type of game. I'd love to see Haiti get a goal in the World Cup. Just what it would mean for the country, what it would mean for those players and their staff and everything. So we'll see what happens today.
Yeah, the thing about Haiti is Haiti does not hold back. They don't park the bus. They don't no low block. They're gonna when they have the ball, they want to go right. They want to make things happen. So how that plays, how that matches up versus this Morocco squad that loves to play all over the place as well could be interesting. I think it could be for more interesting matchup than I think people think. Thoughts on this one from your perspective, Morocco and Haiti, Elias?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I forgot who just was talking about, but goal differential is going to be big in both of these games. Haiti is. I've enjoyed watching Haiti play. My girlfriend's been watching the games with me, and she likes Haiti because of experience and providence, and she's been saying those kinds of words over and over again. So they've. It's just been fun watching. I think that's been the cool part about this World Cup is these smaller teams coming out and you're getting to see. But I mean, the way that they play, I think they're going to come out and they're going to try to make a game of it. Morocco, I think, is a team that is trying to be more proactive than maybe in last year's the last edition of the World Cup where they were more counter and sit and counter. Brazil versus Scotland. I mean, I think that you have a Scotland team that very similar to, we've talked a lot about how the U.S. is feeling the atmosphere of the pride from all the Americans and how that's kind of pushed them on. I think Scotland's feeling that too. So I think that their fans are traveling really well. They're going to have, they're going to want to try to qualify. I mean, I think for them that this is already a knockout game for them. So it's going to be a really tightly congested game. Brazil, how do you deal with the absence of Rafinha? He is, for the most part, they're out of possession. Like you see it with Barcelona when he did not play, their out of possession structure really, really struggled. I think you saw that with Brazil and Haiti when he came out after that first half. They don't have that kind of willing runner that's going to go and put a whole lot of pressure on there. And he is a creative outlet. He takes some attention off of Vinny Jr.,
Right.
who, then is allowed to be the touchline winger, right? He's allowed to sit out there. He's allowed to sit, high in that front two, that 4-4-2 press that they have where he's playing alongside the striker. So without him, what is the trickle down into the rest of that squad? You talked about, I think Ancelotti is probably one of the best, top 3-4 managers in this tournament, but does he have a solution with the player pool that he has at his disposal? Both of those games I think are going to be really interesting. I think both Brazil and Morocco are going to be chasing goals because they're going to want to win the group. And they know that more than likely they're both favorites in this game. So it's going to come down to who scores more goals. Now, the flip side of that is that's going to be expansive. They're going to leave space for both Scotland and Haiti to counter in. It could be some really, I could see there being a shocker in one of these two games.
Yeah, and then the other question is how many minutes, right? How much of it is is it productive versus a distraction? How many minutes for Brazil? How many minutes does Neymar get, right? So that will be.
I think he needs to play. I think that they are missing.
Do you think they start him though? Do you think? I don't think he's starting.
There's no way, but they need an extra creative player on the field. I think I talked about last time. They have two very defensive-minded fullbacks. So now you're kind of really attacking with three. You can't do that in this World Cup, where you're only attacking with three players. So I think they need that little bit of extra flair in there, even if it's
You mentioned Rafinha too. What is the latest on him? Is he injured, or it sounded like financial issues going on back home as well? I don't know which is really the bigger issue going on with him, or is it a little of both? And they're just putting a certain spin on it in terms of the media. You know what's the latest with Rafinha?
So, I follow so many Barcelona Twitter accounts.
Yes, I know. I forgive you. I know.
And there really hasn't been a whole lot of talk about the financial stuff. That seems to be just kind of a weird thing.
Seems random, doesn't it? Just seem random out of nowhere. Yeah.
And then they were saying I don't know that Brazil ever came out and gave like an official diagnosis for his injury. I think he's more like day to day is kind of what they listed him. So I don't know. It's a very peculiar situation. I know that
seems like some sort of cloud hanging over him. Like, is he injured? Not injured? Is he available? Is he or is he going home? What's going on there? Because I think that's big for Brazil.
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll be something to pay attention to. Is he on the bench tonight with them? Is he with the group still? What's going on? So.
Well, I mean, he's got to have financial issues. He plays for Barcelona. They've got all sorts of financial issues. He's probably going to sell part of his house to fund some other parts there, and probably had to sell the family dog. And he's renting out space in the garage. I mean, just whatever he can to make a little bit of bucks for himself. Just following the Barcelona way.
He's on 17 million a year. So I think
that's not enough. That is completely not enough for a guy like Rafinha.
No.
Interesting.
Barca Universal, his wife came out and denied all the rumors.
Yeah, see, and it just seems odd. Like, what is it? And you know how sometimes some of these cover stories pop up in terms of what gets to the media, and there's something else going on behind the scenes. And I'm just like, bottom line is, if he's hurt, is he going to be available, or mentally is he even there? What is his status, right? So because for them to have a chance, right, he's got to be on the field, he's got to be available, and then mentally more than anything, he's just got to be there. So
yeah, you have to have somebody to take pressure off of Vinny.
Right.
I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Vinny is Brazil's kind of key player, and they're going to play through him. But you have to have somebody that's going to threaten, Think about Argentina in the last World Cup. For as good as Messi was, they had Di Maria to give them that directness on the other side. And so even though it's Vinny's team, he needs somebody there that can kind of, also create problems for the opposition.
Yeah. So interesting note here. So team goals, the leaderboard, teams that have scored the most. So we have Germany in first with 9. Canada, ironically, I think sitting in second, tied for, probably moved into second place with 8 goals now. You have Netherlands and Norway tied at 7. You have you got like 5 countries tied at 6, along with the U.S. And then you have the Fighting Messis sitting there with 5. Not Argentina, just Messi sitting there with 5. So thought I'd mention that. All right, so we move on to the nightcaps, right? So we're not going to really dive into Czechia and Mexico, because we're going to dive into more with Rafa on that in a little bit. But South Africa, South Korea, you've seen these teams play in depth, Rafa, in terms of Group A. Thoughts on this one?
This is pretty much a game that South Korea should win, but South Africa still has a lifeline if they can pull off an upset, and
Isn't that amazing? It's so
for a
how
team
bad
that
they look.
looked like
Yeah.
crap on the beginning of the World Cup to actually have a chance, to to qualify for the knockout stage. And if South Korea's not too careful, I'm sure they already. I mean, they know they're already in, but they can't be. They got to be very careful on this and not take them lightly. They just have to go out there, take care of business, get it done, and go on to the next. Because I think if this game stays close, kind of like that game between South Africa and Chechnya, crazy things can happen. And who's to say South Africa doesn't pull off like a 1-0 win on them, and then they end up getting to that second spot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anything, like I said, anything can happen here. So
No team may be a bigger mystery in this tournament than South Africa. I'll tell you that from match day 1 to match day 2 and just how they're looking. But I was going to send you this article. I don't know if you guys saw it. Rafa, I was going to send it to you. It was they're talking about just the amount of expats, South Koreans that live in Greater Mexico, in Mexico, right? But also on top of all the foreigners from Korea, South Korea that are there in Mexico for the World Cup. They said they're expecting it to be an overwhelming in Monterrey, even more than when they played versus Czechia and Guadalajara. They're expecting it to be a very, very one-sided crowd. So,
yeah.
yeah. Thoughts on, so we look at this, Brian, your thoughts on South Africa, who somehow, some way is still in the mix versus South Korea?
This is that kind of game where, we're all sitting there saying South Korea should win this game. South Korea should win this game. This is the kind of game where I'm going to sit there and be the underdog. And I'm going to say, watch South Africa come out of nowhere and win this game, and then jump into the knockout stages. South Korea really has not impressed me the way that I thought they would be, the way that I saw them back in September against the U.S. when they just dominated the U.S. So, I really have not seen them really step up and just be that kind of team. I think if South Africa can keep this game close for 60, 75 minutes, you get into that fourth quarter and you're level with them. I think South Africa's the kind of team that will throw something forward. Remember, they had a couple of half chances against Mexico in that first half.
Yeah, don't forget that it took South in that South Korea Mexico match, right? In second half, it took the hand of God from the duck that helped out the Mexican goalkeeper.
The hand of the duck, yeah.
Yeah, the hand of the duck. Because if not, that would have ended in a 1-1 draw, right? So,
Yeah.
South Africa, and I'll tell you guys this offline. South Africa reminds me of a school that I used to play against, right? My girls' team. That you look at them and you're just like, dude, they got nothing. But then when you play against them, they just make it ugly and you cannot get going. It's like you're playing stuck in mud versus them, right? So
That's no way to describe Baytown Sterling, okay?
well, I was trying to be nice since their coach is here. But apparently he's up for all kinds of job offers. I heard he's up for the Italian national team job too. So Elias,
Yeah.
South Africa, South Korea, thoughts?
I'm waiting to hear back after Herve Renard gets fired from Tunisia at the end of the World Cup. But,
Just button your shirt. Just button your shirt.
There'll be some other jobs open, I'm sure.
Button
Yeah,
your
you
shirt.
need to go to, you got to stop in Turkey and get the hair done, and and get the white shirt and get your tan. You got a lot of plastic surgery you need to get done to replace Harvey Renard.
Oh yeah, Turkey's the hair plug.
I mean,
place,
look,
right?
he's all look, no substance. So look, I'm all substance, no look. Okay.
Go.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think, South Korea on paper, this should be a win for South Korea. But, South Africa still has something to play for. There's a lot of, I think people were worried that this World Cup, there was going to be a lot of dead games but there's a lot, especially with the third place still up for, you have a lot of teams that are still playing for something. So South Africa, I think will know that. I think they know that they have a chance to basically erase the first two games, and if they can go win this game. They do have some interesting pieces where it does seem like they are one or two passes away from creating a lot of problems for opponents. You talked about in the first half against Mexico, there was a couple of times where they were on the break and then I don't know if they got scared of the Azteca or if the duck came in or what happened, but like it was just like the passes were just wayward, like just I don't know. And then so if they can get some sort of rhythm going, if they can not pass the ball straight to the other team on goal kicks, then I think that they could make a game of this. But I do think South Korea is stronger, and so yeah, South Africa is just it's just a very odd group that you don't really, I don't know that you can, I think you said, I don't know that you can really describe them. It's just
I don't.
weird. They're
I don't
weird.
know if you're. I don't know if you're capable of looking good against them. That
Yeah.
was because I mean that was the takeaway when Mexico played them in the opening match, right? It's like Mexico was clearly dominant, but yet it just you kind of scratched your head trying to figure things out because they should have been more dominant than they were, and yet but South Africa just I don't know.
It feels like, when you have that buddy that's never played soccer before and he's like, yeah, let's 1v1. And like, he just stuffs you because he just doesn't move. He doesn't react to like anything 'cause he just
Right.
doesn't know what's going on. That's what I feel like South Africa is like you should be killing them, but you just can't. And you don't understand why, you
I
know.
know. I know. Yeah. So we'll see. So and we'll dive into Czechia and Mexico a little bit more in a little bit. But yeah, that is kind of a brief look at our remaining matches. Upcoming matches coming up at 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central Time. Scotland, Brazil, Morocco, and Haiti, and then the nightcaps at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Czechia versus Mexico in Estadio Azteca, and South Africa and South Korea in what I think is probably might be my personal favorite stadium in BBVA there in Monterrey. So, all right, we move on. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a look coming into today, our group standings here. But I got little trivia here for you guys really quick before we go. So coming into today's matches, right? Which location, right? Which stadium, which location do you think had the most goals coming into today?
Houston.
Yeah, by far. So
Yeah.
Houston coming in at 1 with 21, and then you had Dallas and Vancouver tied at 12. Vancouver just took just stepped in a second with the 3 goals that were scored there today. So yeah, so 21, 12, 12, and then after that it's kind of a drop off. You have MetLife has 11, and then you have Levi's Stadium, San Francisco with 10, and Monterrey with 10. And then after that, it's a significant drop off. It's 3, 4, 5, 6 everywhere else. So, pretty. Any thoughts on that? Do you think there's anything to that, or is it just random? The teams that are playing there.
If you want to watch attacking soccer, you come to Houston. I'm just telling you. We score goals and we score lots of them.
Huh?
Defense, not so much. But hey, you're going to see fun and exciting soccer.
Yeah.
I think everyone's been talking about those 2 stadiums as like probably the best stadiums in the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're air conditioned, so the tempo's higher.
Mm-hmm.
You have the water breaks inside of air conditioned stadiums, and you have large crowds in those stadiums, right? So I think you add those things together, and that does, add to it. I was listening to a podcast earlier, and they were also talking about like, I know that, they're talking about how the water breaks are kind of stunting the game or whatever. But I think there's like 5% more ball in play time in this World Cup than in the previous edition. The games are actually shorter. Like the total run time for this World Cup is shorter than the previous World Cup.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
with
The referees. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I think that we're just seeing just more high tempo soccer in these games, which is a lot of goals. Even good for as a spectator.
Yeah, the referees, I agree. The referees, I've noticed it, right? They have not been messing around with the throw-ins, with the substitutions. Have you seen how quick the subs are now? Incredibly quick, right? They're allowing hey, get off on the far end and just walk around as well, not giving them a hard time about that anymore because they've always kind of yo-yoed on that one. But the throw-ins, the substitutions, the goal kicks are still, I think, kind of a work in progress, right? And I feel like the only set piece where we're kind of really losing time is a little bit on corner kicks, but over the last couple of days, I don't know if you guys have noticed, particularly on free kicks just outside along in the final third, just outside of the 18. Have you noticed that the referees have been very involved on what's happening on the walls? Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah, especially yesterday in the Portugal game.
Yeah, yeah. He spent like a legit, like I think 2 minutes just shuffling them around, moving them around, and talking to him. So, all right. So we look here. So group standings going into today, obviously with our 5 teams that have already been eliminated going into today in Haiti, Turkey, Tunisia, Panama, and Jordan. And then our teams highlighted in blue were our teams that were currently sitting in the third place threshold, the top 8 of the third place teams. Thoughts. So we've talked a little bit already about the matches coming up today or tonight. But when you look at this, the groups beyond Group C, right? Which because we'll see D through L over the course of the next 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thoughts on here, guys? Rafa?
Pretty much, like I said, these kind of, wrapped up with the U.S. Like I said, really not much to play for. Like I said, just ready for the next round. But like I said, big game for Australia too. Like I said, and Paraguay. Whoever wins that game, they get to go to the next round, and that could be a differential. So Paraguay also kind of looking bad from that first game. Now they're kind of the same situation with South Africa. They still have a shot. If you look at Group E, Germany's got wrapped up. Ecuador's got probably the toughest thing. They're going to play, trying to see if they can knock off Germany to get that last spot. But I think Ivory
Right.
Coast should take care of Curacao. And then, like I said, Group F, it's going to come down to the last few games. That game, that Japan-Sweden game, it's Japan needs a win to kind of maybe try to overtake, the Netherlands, to that top spot. So, and the Sweden just trying to survive, see if they can get at least a point, so they can be get those third spot as well.
Yeah, I think Ecuador, based upon how they match up the styles, Curacao could give Ecuador a really tough time. They really could. I think they match up with them very well, right? So,
They gave them such a tough time. They tied 1-1 last game.
Yeah, they're playing Germany.
or no, yeah, I'm
Ecuador's
sorry,
got Germany.
Germany. Never mind. I was talking about Germany. So I was thinking, yeah. So yeah, I think just some interesting matchups, man. I think Japan's one that I'm been very, very high on. Netherlands seems to just score in bunches, right? So interesting one there. Belgium is the one who I feel like they're right on par with where I thought they'd be going into this tournament. And I know Wes. I think Wes was big on Egypt, right? And here they are sitting in first place in Group G, right, going into the final match. So, and then here's the unthinkable, right? Spain and Uruguay, right? Marcelo Bielsa's squad, they're going to be disciplined. They're going to be tough. Spain's going to have a hard time breaking them down. If that ends in some sort of draw, right, and Cape Verde can get the result, what could they leapfrog them and possibly challenge or maybe even win the group?
They'd have to win by what, 4 or 5?
That I don't know in terms of tiebreakers because they drew with Spain, so I don't know on goal differential. We'd have to dive into goal differential on that, but yeah, probably something like that. So, but I wouldn't put it past them in Saudi Arabia, who I was just.
They would have to win by. They would have to win by 5 to jump over Spain.
Yeah. Oof, okay. But even then,
four puts them level with Spain.
Even then, though, to have
Fair play or a goal scored or what?
What's that? Say that again.
It would go to if they win by 4, they win the group because they've scored more goals. Depending.
Yeah, it's
Depending on how many
head-to-head, goal differential, goal scored, right? Yeah.
Now, for me, the game that I'm really interested in, there's 2 of them: France, Norway.
Oh yeah.
I was in a debate. I think France has balance issues. I don't think I told somebody if they would take out one of those front 4 players, which I know is crazy to say, and put in an extra midfielder, I think they would walk this tournament in the knockout stages. But when you're against a team like Norway, are you going to be disciplined enough when you're attacking not to get countered by Erling Haaland? right? Like, are you really going to be able? And we talk about game states and things like that, but like I think that the two styles are going to be they're going to be interesting to see how they play against each other. I think France wins. I'm not saying
Here's
that France doesn't
Do,
here's
do
win.
you
here's
think?
here's a big factor. Deschamps is not going to be there because his mother passed away.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. But here's the other piece, though, too. I think, yeah, I mean, I get that they're also professionals, right, at this stage. But you would. My question is this: is does Norway have the speed to truly outrun them on the counter? You know, because that France is just. I mean, they are just stacked, and there's speed everywhere, right?
yeah.
Um,
I
I
think
see what you're saying. I see what you're saying on the balance side, but I'm just like, but I think they can just hit another switch quickly, right?
yeah.
That's the thing with them, and they've kind of been like the Netherlands, where they pour it on you quick, score in bunches, and then they kind of just cruise. So, yeah, that's one that I'm loving, that I'm very much looking forward to watch. And you had another one? Go ahead, Elias.
Colombia and Portugal, same
No
thing.
doubt.
I mean, Colombia, even though they only won 1-0 last night, I only watched the first half, but they probably should have been up 2 or 3-0 going into halftime. They seem really dynamic. They seem very athletic. They obviously have that South American, like, I'll kill you for the ball kind of, mentality. And then, Portugal, are they going to be, again, on the counter? Portugal, midfield, incredible. Forwards, great. Ronaldo, I think, showed us in the box he's still a top striker in the world.
Yeah,
But
he just has to have that. He just has to
he
have that
has to have
switch.
the service, right? Like, I think I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But, João Cancelo, can you hit behind João Cancelo there on the right hand side?
Right.
Can you go at who's the center back that's partnered with Ruben Diaz? Can you go at him? Even Ruben Diaz has been struggling with Manchester City a little bit, so I think that
Vitinha,
who is it?
Vitinha,
No, that he said center back,
That's-
not center mid.
The center
Yeah,
back.
it's right.
that's a
Okay,
good point. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah. So,
I think that they have, again, there are spaces that they could be taken advantage of. So we'll see if they're for real. We'll see if France is for real. I think both those games will tell us a lot about, like, are these teams legitimate contenders, right? And that'll be fun because I don't think we've seen too many of those just heavyweight games yet.
yeah, and how are those? How are those like tactically? How are those coached? Right, game
Yeah.
plan. Right, how are those? And then how much some coach? This is where you kind of start looking at the coaches. It's like, okay, who tend to be the more pragmatic ones, and who are the ones that are trying to chase it, right, to win? Because obviously you want to win the group. But that said, someone has to, depending upon how the match plays out, it's also a matter of how much do we want to put out there, right, versus knowing that we got the round of 32 coming up and blah blah blah. So
Yeah, and I mean, I think Rafa talked about it. Not having, Deschamps there for France, that is huge. I don't know that there's another coach, bar Zinedine Zidane, who could walk into that French locker room and control all of those superstars. He's won it as a player, he's won it as a coach. Is the assistant coach, if that game is tied 1-1 and you need to take off, for whatever reason, Dembele, or you need to move Mbappe to a different spot, or you need to pull Olise, do they have, the guts to make those calls? Deschamps does the assistant,
yeah, and then the other factor here too in those two is maybe when all is said and done, goalkeeping, right? Who maybe has the better goalkeeper, or who has the better match that day. We've already seen some pretty awesome, some pretty incredible goalkeeping play, right? So I feel like that's when all is said and done, the tactics, the strategy, the formations, everything. We cannot look past that. Now, the other thing, so between those two matches, it's interesting you mentioned that, right? So France, Norway, and Colombia, Portugal. I think of the two, I think France should somehow Norway win the group, right? And France goes to the other side of the bracket. I think that they're going to be fine. In fact, they might, that might be doing them a favor, kind of in terms of the other side of the bracket, but potentially, right? Because now they probably won't, not until maybe a semifinal when they might see Argentina maybe on the other side of the bracket, because this would potentially put them opposite of Spain and Germany, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Now, the other thing too is so I feel France could bounce back from that just fine. Should Portugal lose, and now Portugal ends up on that same side of the bracket, right, that we're talking about with Spain, they could potentially see Spain in a round of 16 match, right? If they win out, right?
In Dallas. I'm trying to track down tickets to that right now, but they are.
So that could massively change So I think Portugal probably does themselves no favors if they don't. I think they have to priority win the group, them versus France, I think. So, Brian, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're right on both of those. But there's a couple other games I'm really looking at. The first one, Ghana and Croatia. I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup. Playing for second place in that group, and of course, you never know what England's going to do. You could be playing for winning that group. Ghana still has a chance to win the group as well. And then the game that absolutely nobody wants to win, Austria and Algeria. Because the loser of that game will probably have to play Spain in the round of 32. So, or the winner of that game will have to play Spain. So, who wants to win that game?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rafa, final thoughts? Anything else on here before we move on to our top 8 third places?
We'll see if that trend of the 3 main goal scorers lives up to the last couple games. We'll see if Messi gets to play against Jordan. See how much time does he go in, get a hat trick, and then sit the rest of the half, or like I said, and the Haaland versus Mbappe. Like I said, that's going to be a classic there. Who's gonna upstage the other? Like I said, that's going to be the fun one. So it's going to be a fun day. Possibly a lot of goals scoring again.
Right. Yeah, Norway, France, man. I see first to 5 goals wins. I just cannot see for over the course of 90 minutes. I can't see Norway trying to keep up in a track meet with France. They just got too many horses, man. Too many horses. So, but the Deschamps part is. I mean, how much of a factor does that turn out to be? Is it more than we think, or no, not necessarily? So, all right. So we move on here. So. And this kind of reinforces what we were just looking at in our group settings here. So our third place matchups, our third place standings, I should say. So current going into today, obviously this is definitely going to be subject to change over the course of the next few days. But this is where we were, and obviously Bosnia and Herzegovina will have moved up into the top 8 here. Those that tend to look that are on the verge of coming out. You could see Czechia, Algeria, maybe even the likes of Cape Verde. I don't know, possibly Belgium. You don't know what's going to happen here, but on the outside looking in, Ecuador as well as Senegal. So thoughts on these guys? Elias, we'll start with you, buddy.
Are you just saying who I think is going to advance, or just the teams in general, or?
Just in general, either or. Just what interests you, what you find interesting, who do you think is going to break through, and who will ultimately be in the top 8 when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what this third place thing does is it kind of saves face a little bit for some of these teams. Like, Croatia would potentially be going home right now. That would be a disaster for them. Belgium would potentially be going home. That would be a disaster for them, right? Same thing for Ecuador. And then also giving lifelines to some of these other teams that maybe haven't ever been in a knockout stage. So I think the third place is kind of adding to the drama of the tournament. I think that, of those, I think Ecuador, could give enough. I don't know, though, that they can get more than a point against Germany. Or I just think Germany's too strong. So they could be headed home, even though a lot of us picked them as a dark horse. Cape Verde, I just don't. Are they? That's going to be interesting. Like, are they going to give the ball to Saudi Arabia when they play? Like, or are we going to see a different Cape Verde team? So it's just a lot of interesting matchups and that are going to show up. And I don't really know that there's a team in these 12 that I'm like, man, I, if they
Who's
get
the
in,
one? Who's
go
the
out
one?
of
Like, let's just say these 12 are in play, right? As a third play, as a 3 seed. Who's the one you don't want to see?
I don't think I want to see Ecuador in a knockout game,
Yeah.
just because of their two center backs and their six and their ability to control space and things like that. I think that it will be a big shock if they don't get in. I think if you looked at it at the beginning of the tournament to now, like now we can say like, okay, at this point I won't be shocked if they don't advance. But if you went back 2 weeks ago and you said, hey, they only have 1 point going into Germany, you'd be like, wait, what?
Right.
So I think that that's the team I don't want to see. Croatia has that pedigree where they seem to, when they get in those knockout games, they find a way to win. So those would be the
Right.
two that I think for sure I don't want to see. Everyone else, I mean, like I'm just thinking about even from a United States perspective. If you drew one of these teams in any of the knockout stages, you would feel good about it. So minus maybe Ecuador and Croatia.
Yeah, seeing Belgium on this list just doesn't look right. But yeah, I have not been impressed, and that's factoring in. That's in having in the back of our mind the BTA that they put on the U.S. a couple of months ago too. So it's interesting. It's very interesting as well. So Rafa, your perspective. So who would you not want to see? Right, you're looking at from a Mexican fan perspective, right? Who would you not want to see in the round of 32 out of these 12?
I think one of them would be Senegal. Even though that record's kind of misleading, those
You
guys
think
can
so?
still play. They can still play. And I actually got to see them play firsthand. They got some talent. They got speed. They do give matchup problems. They've just been unlucky. Just bad starts. And I think if they get a lead, I think they can hold on to them. And those a lot of the from the Afcon teams, when they get a
Right.
lead, they know how to stay compact, discipline in the back, and I would really worry about anyone like them. It's a long shot for them to maybe. Like I said, they're gonna need a lot of help, but that's like I said, they still have quality players.
Yeah.
Uh,
My concern with Senegal is I think it's what all the stuff, the drama that's happening with them off the field, right?
Yeah.
They're a hot mess, right? Their federation is, right, in terms of taking care of them. So you have disgruntled players, right? I think their coach hasn't been paid. I think they said since January or something like that. So there's stuff behind the scenes I think that's going on with them, which I think has an impact on that record. So that's my concern with them. It's the off the field stuff. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think another team would be Scotland. I think they can give up some matchup, regardless of this of the outcome today. If they win, or like I said, or even if they lose, it could be a matchup problem in that first round. Very talented squad. So we'll see. I'm sure they're going to be trying to gun in to win against Brazil. They don't want to be in a situation as well. And maybe a third team would be Bosnia, since now they're at 4 points now. Bosnia could be
Oh, yeah.
one of those, be a problem team, and like I said, they did beat the U.S. in a friendly not too long ago, so they are familiar, and so they know what kind of tactics they use and so forth. And here's the thing is, you want to be playing at the right time, and if they play well this last game, get some momentum going into the game, that could help. And that's the one thing with some of these teams having a fall off, by resting players and all that. You don't want to lose that. And there's some teams that have been playing flying high, kind of not doing anything wrong, but it just takes one bad game that can, and especially in the knockout stage, to get you out. So
Right.
that's something to really kind of keep on, especially with one of these
Yeah.
third place teams.
And it looks like, I mean, granted, obviously, I get it. It came against Qatar, but it does seem like Bosnia is finally figuring out their attack, right? So, and again, remember, we owe them some thanks, right? Because they ultimately, in UEFA qualifying, they were the ones that eliminated Italy, and therefore it is now going to be the future role of Coach Brian Heyman, as we understand it. So more to come on that. I'm still waiting to hear back from Fabrizio. So
Ciao Bella.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, so your perspective, Brian. So the U.S. men's national team, we know who they're probably going to match up against, but if there was anybody else, if we tossed Bosnia and Herzegovina out, who would you not want to see, whether it be round of six, round of 32, or even maybe let's just say, because one of these teams is going to break through, even let's just say round of 16.
I mean, I think Eliel said it right about Ecuador. I mean, there's a lot of talent there, and they just haven't been able to put it together. But when you have a guy like Moises Caicedo in the center midfield, and he's one of the best midfielders in the world, and I think he's the kind of guy that would give matchup problems to McKinney and Adams. But the other team I think would be an issue for the U.S. and I think Sweden would be an issue, and I think that's because they've got two strikers up top that can give that are going to give Tim Ream an issue. Obviously, Chris Richards can't guard both Gyökeres and Isaac together, but Tim Ream is going to be called on to do a lot more. So I mean, I would love to stay away from Sweden and those two guys up top. That might be like a 7-6 kind of game, just because of the way that they're going to attack. And I'm not convinced on our back four, not completely convinced yet. But those two teams definitely. But then again, I think a team like Cape Verde or a team like like Congo would give the U.S. a lot of problems just because of the way that they're going to play. They're going to play with no fear. They're going to come out aggressive. They're going to come out flying. That's the kind of team that you don't really want to see. A team that's got. I mean, you don't really want to see a team that's got nothing to lose going up against the U.S. who's going to still have a lot to lose in that round of 32 game.
Right. Well, and Rafa hit the nail on the head. He talked about these, these AFCON teams. Right. There's four in this group, and they've really shown up. They've shined in this tournament, and yeah, I mean, they're going to take it to you. I think that's the big thing, and I guess that's my one concern with Senegal is the off the field stuff. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I feel like Sweden's not getting enough of their due, right? And they're obviously the one on here for a reason. But I feel like the other one though too. Could we see them potential in the round of 16 matchup, depending on how things break down? Belgium, right? Could we, as a U.S. men's national team fan, could they psychologically get, if we came up against a Belgium again, could we see past the result from a couple of months ago and have that hunger and that desire to want to get some revenge, right? Or is it going to kind of leer over us the other way, kind of like a dark cloud, and say, how are we going to play them? The last time we didn't, different squad, I get it, but still, right? It's still, the bottom line is the result is still there.
Well, FIFA's going to make sure that the jerseys are different, so we won't be passing to them the whole time like we did in Atlanta. Because I mean that's what
yeah,
it was.
that was that one. That was that match, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Now here's a question though for all of you: is can Ecuador, because they need a result, right? They need a win at a minute. They're going to need what? Because they're not going to be able to get 2 points isn't going to cut it, so they need the win. Can they get the result versus Germany? Because this is a Germany squad that I feel like right now not enough people are talking about, which is shocking for it being Germany, but they're just kind of going about their business.
I think they could go 1-0. I don't think a 1-0 is out of the question. But are they going to go win 3-1, 4-1, anything like that? I don't think so. But I mean, Germany is they're going to commit numbers forward. He sends both outside backs wide and high. So they're going to leave space in transition. I do think Ecuador, the strength of their team is Pacho Hincapié and Moises Caicedo, which is going to plug up the middle. So is Musiala going to run all over you, right? Probably not. Is Havertz going to run all over you? Probably not. Is Sane going to have as much, influence? Probably not. So, now you're taking away the strength of the German team, and I think that they could cancel it out and get a result. I could see it happening. I don't think it will, though.
Also, you had to play into the fact that Germany's already won the group. So
Correct.
are they going to rest some starters? Are they going to rest some guys who's on cards? Is that going to give Ecuador is going to have to come flying out with everything. Can Ecuador catch them? Maybe catch the second string guys, and nick a goal early, and then kind of just lock it down against them and see what happens there. I think that plays into the game as well. Is that Germany's already won the group, and and I think they're fine there. I think they've already said they're going to rotate the squad a little bit. Nagelsmann's real good about rotating the squad, and I think you'll see some different faces against Ecuador.
Yeah, and I mean, they can say like, "Oh, we're professionals. We're going to take every game seriously and all that." But psychologically, if you know that there's no, really consequence for losing, I mean, that's in the back of your mind. I mean, there's
In Germany, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's either the youngest or second youngest. Germany might have, I think he's the youngest coach in the field, right? So I don't know how pragmatic he'll be, right? Like, does he still, even if they make their subs, right? Does he want to have them on the front, on the front foot and going forward? That's kind of really also generally speaking, that German mindset in terms of their mentality, how they play. I don't know. That for me, that's the one question: can Ecuador get the win versus Germany? I don't know if I can see it just based upon the hole they've put themselves in. I know what they're capable of, but the hole they've put themselves in, unless Germany just decides to just sit back, right? But that's the part I can't see. That's not their mindset. Rafa?
Yeah, like I said, Ecuador's gonna have to. I mean, they have pretty much nothing to lose. I mean, like I said, they're gonna have to go with everything. I mean, they got to go after Germany. Germany, I think they're just like, hey, it's just another game for them. Just ready to go. Let's not get hurt. Don't get any stupid red cards. Going to that knockout stage. But Ecuador's gonna have to set the pace, get on them, get the goal early. That like I said, Germany can be scored on, and you saw that. In one of the first games, they end up scoring a bunch of goals after that. But like I said, Ecuador does have the talent enough, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, maybe they get a 2-1 win on this one. Like I said, it's just them getting the lead and holding on to it, and just finishing the game, and we'll see where they end up at.
Yeah, Haiti just missed a screamer of a free kick. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Some guy named Vinny, some Italian kid named Vinny, just scored for Brazil too. So
Just scored. Oh, there we go.
yeah,
8 minutes in. 8 minutes in, we got a score. So Brazil 1, Scotland 0, and Morocco, Haiti also 8 minutes in 0-0. So interesting. So you see the goal?
yeah, it's
Right,
bad
you see
goalkeeping. It's bad goalkeeping from the Scots,
Yeah, gotcha.
which has been a characteristic of this World Cup. We've seen some of the worst goalkeeping I've ever seen.
Yeah, some of them are trying to. Of course, they're blaming it on the ball, but it's just we've seen some good stuff too from some of the lesser known goalkeepers too. So
Yeah.
it's kind of been a little interesting back and forth. But so as we transition here for our Mexico and Czechia preview, again, want to remind you. So this is episode 9 of the Red, White, and Crew podcast. Thank you for joining us. And this episode is brought to you by GoalGetter, a recruiting education platform built to help female soccer student athletes and their families navigate the path to college soccer. The process can feel overwhelming, especially when families don't fully understand the recruiting landscape. GoalGetter provides the education, tools, and guidance that families need to navigate the recruiting landscape and make informed decisions. For more information, you can look them up. Visit their website at GoalGetter. That's GOLGETR.com. Again, that's GOLGETR.com. And you can also follow them both on Instagram and X, Twitter X, Twix as we call it. That's at GoalGetter Soccer. That's at GOLGETR and then soccer, GoalGetter Soccer, to learn more. So, all right, Rafa, this is where you take over. Start telling us what is going to happen tonight, right? How do they come? The question is, how does Aguirre play, right? The strong indications is that Memo Ochoa is going to get the start, Santi Jimenez is going to get the start, and Gilberto Mora is going to get the start. What do you think? Do all three of those actually happen, or which ones don't happen? And then what kind of formation does Aguirre have him come out in?
I think it happens with Ochoa. It's quite fitting for him, being a former Club America player. Like I said, it's like a home game, basically coming home for him, a send off to his retirement. So I think this is going to be kind of the tribute game for him, or the retirement game for him. So it's just fitting for him.
Update:
when
81 Morocco 0.
Oh,
Yeah. So sorry. So we are 10 minutes in. Brazil 1, Scotland 0, Haiti 1, Morocco 0. They just got CONCACAF'd. Wow. So, all All right, sorry, I had to.
No worries, no worries.
That over the-
What I'm interested in is seeing Gilberto Mora, how he as a starter, how he performs. You know, this is kind of is going to be his little showcase to the European teams. You know, well, what he can do on the kind of on the big stage, and then also with Santi Jimenez, he's kind of been the like I said, really disappointing season in Milan. I guess I think I heard rumors that he may go to Orlando. So it's his opportunity to show what he has. As far as formation, I can see them. I don't think they'll go to a four like the rest of the games like a 4-3-3. I can see them go maybe a 4-2-3-1. I think Edson goes to the back to the midfield. Like I said, you'll see the kind of the same back four they had in the first game, maybe with some little twitches here and there.
So if he goes 4-2-3-1, does he put in front of the two holding? Is that where he puts Mora? You think?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
put him there. Yeah.
So I know Aguirre's kind of he's kind of a bit under the gun because a lot of people are saying right out of the Mexican camp that, you know, this is not the place for a tribute game, right? Even though they've wrapped up the group, right, that maybe either give sub Memo Ochoa in late in the match, right, a second half substitution, but giving him the start is an awful lot. What do you think?
It is, but I think it's also out of respect for him. I mean, you know, it's just like I said, he's been a staple with the Mexican national team for all this time. Him, I guess, is his sixth World Cup, so I think it's just kind of fitting. Now, if the circumstances were a lot different, if they had tied the last game, like I said, yeah, we're going to see him on the pitch, and you know, you'll see a different lineup, you know, on this game. So, but I think it's fitting for them, you know. Plus you also do want to have your backups ready to go too. I mean, you know, worst case scenario, if your starter gets hurt in the knockout stage, hey, you want to have a backup ready to go. So I can literally see maybe both backups come in one half and one of the other half. So,
Yeah.
so but I think Memo will get the start. Just kind of a little tribute for him, and just like I said, for him there's just a thanks for for all the years he's been with the team.
Do you think, particularly on set pieces, because that's one of Czechia's biggest strengths, is the size, right? They're the biggest team in the tournament. Set pieces, particularly corner kicks, do you think Mexico can struggle with their size potentially?
They have in the past, like I said, but if they can remain disciplined and mark right, not just fall asleep, you know, I think they can defend those well. The key is not falling around the 18. That's what they need to do, and not giving up corner kicks. You know, if you do that, you're just setting yourself up and getting scoring opportunities. You know, for Czech Republic. So, you know, that's something that they're gonna have to really keep an eye on, making sure they're not giving up balls. You know, not making mistakes. You know, and just making sure that they maintain possession of the ball and just keep pressure on them, you know, and go out and get a win. You know, I think they really do need to get a win because it gets a little momentum going to the next game, because even the fans are still going to want to see a good showing. I don't think they don't. I think if they see them get kind of manhandled and a little drop off, that's really you can see the crowd turn on them, and especially going to the next game, you don't want that.
Yeah. So, and I think that's the biggest piece, right, is in terms of mentality. How do they, with all those substitutions, including Memo Ochoa and the emotions or what have you, and then you got to settle down and play, right, where you're expected to get the result there in Azteca. But it's kind of one of those things. I'm kind of, how much does Aguirre push, and then when does he start to add more substitutions? So thoughts on that from tonight, from a mentality perspective. Mexico, what do you think we'll see tonight, Elias? Brian, your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's good. All these teams that have wrapped up their group, you know, I heard someone talk like, I think that the coach, you know, almost it's a great way to continue to keep morale high. Maybe not so much for Mexico, just because, you know, the players are in their home country, so they're not necessarily, you know, away from home. But I mean, a lot of these players are not based in Mexico, so they are away from their home. Right, and they've been, you know, they reported 2-3 weeks before the start of the World Cup. So, you know, you're talking about they've been away from their home for 30 days, and, you know, you have the chance to play them and you don't. you could create, some discontentment in your camp. So, I think that in those, big games, even, all these players in all these teams have egos. In Mexico, the subs, they have egos, right? They're all fantastic players for all these teams. So, I think they can stomach it when they know the person ahead of them is better and it's a big game. But I think when their coach has a chance to kind of pay some respect to them of, hey, I appreciate all the effort you've been putting in and I can get you some minutes here. I think it's really important that they do that. And then also, do they this is a chance for them to give the manager, a chance or, something to think about in the knockout stages. If you go and have a great game, maybe you give yourself a couple more minutes, or maybe now instead of being maybe the sixth player on the list that maybe doesn't get into the game, now you're the fifth player on the list that gets into a game. On the substitution list, right? So, I don't necessarily have a problem with them rotating. I do think it's great that they're going to be able to honor, Memo Ochoa in that game, and I think that sends the right message as a federation that we respect our stars, we respect the people that have built this legacy, and that if we have the opportunity to, we're going to be able to go and give the kind of recognition that they deserve. So.
Brian?
I mean, I think the same thing that both Ralph and Elias hit on. It's good to rotate players, give them an opportunity. I'm interested to see how Gilberto Mora plays today, considering he's still considering a move to Baytown Sterling in the summer transfer window. We're trying to make that work with some NIL money.
I heard he's not going now that their coach is leaving for the Italian national team.
I mean, he might become Italian with me. We don't know. We haven't figured everything out yet, but no.
Flag is the same color. Flag is the same color.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how Czechia comes out, knowing that they have to get some type of result if they're going to advance. I mean, a draw may not get them through. They may need to win. And how is that mentality going to come out against maybe even a second string Mexico team? But then again, you have Mexico players that are playing for a starting spot. Playing in front of their home fans is just different. And this one's going to be real interesting. I think this is going to be like we talked about cagey affairs, but I think it's also this is the game where the styles make the game. And I think you could see a real open game, wide open game. I think you could see this game, being like a 3-2 or a 3-2 kind of game.
Interesting. So as we start to wrap up here, so final predictions, even score lines, even with our ongoing matches, knowing what we know now. 18 minutes in, Haiti 1, Morocco 0, Brazil 1, Scotland 0. So let's go. We'll start Haiti, Morocco around the horn here. So final score, thoughts?
Haiti 4-0.
Oh,
Why not? Let's go with some CONCACAF magic today, and let's let Haiti watch Haiti and see if Haiti can jump in that third place group. But no, I think Morocco comes back and wins that game 2-1, maybe 3-1. I think they just missed one from about 6 yards out.
Yeah.
But I think Brazil's going to step on the gas a little bit. When you watch the goal, Scotland basically hands it to them.
Who got the goal? Vinny? It was Vinny?
Vinny.
Yeah.
It was a bad back pass from the outside back to the goalkeeper, and Vinny pounced on it. And then I think tonight, I still think South Africa finds a way. I think I'm gonna go 1-0 South Africa, and then like I said, I think this game could be a wide open game. So I'm gonna go 3-2 Mexico over Czechia.
3-2. All right. And
sure, why not?
So South Africa, South Korea. What do you got? Did you say?
I got South Africa coming up with the upset, winning that one 1-0.
1-0. Ooh, look at you. So,
I know.
And so Vinny or Vicious.
I'm not betting money like Wes, but
Vicious had the goal for Brazil, as you said, as
yep.
Michael Keegan said. I don't know if you guys saw that video where he was wearing the Belgium jersey and destroying all the all the players. He called was it Lamine Yamal? He called him what was it? Lamine Yamal, I think it's
Lamine Yamal.
So I'll forever call him that now. I'll send that to you guys. It's hilarious. But all right, Elias, score predictions. So Haiti, Morocco.
Yeah, I think
Going
I
4
think.
0 4-0 Haiti also.
Oh no, I got Morocco 3-1. I think they'll come back. I think they'll show their class. But I don't know. I wouldn't put it past Haiti to find a way to hold on to this 1-0. I think either Morocco comes back and wins by two, or Haiti holds on and wins 1-0. Um, I think Brazil 3-1. I think that Scotland finds a way to get a goal. I don't think it's enough. Tonight, I have South Korea 2-0 over South Africa. I just think they're too disjointed. I think that they're a weird team that has some weird qualities that could maybe create an upset, but I don't know that there's really that belief in that camp. Just watching the way they play. And then I got Mexico 2-1. I think Czechia scores a set piece, but I think
Yeah,
Mexico
that's
2-0.
going to be another de facto, like basically true home match for South Korea, I think, in there. So, which I guess at this point, after the first match versus Mexico, right, in Azteca, South Africa should be fine with it. So nothing big to them. So, but that is going to do it as we wrap up episode 9 of the Red, White, and Crew podcast. Again, we're looking at the start of match day 3, the the start of final matches of group play as we start today, and they will end on Saturday, and then along with our Mexico versus Czechia preview. So, Rafa, any final thoughts? Anything else to share as far as Mexico, Czechia tonight, or springboarding them into the round of 32?
Just by prediction, I think 2-1 Mexico. Yeah, I think Korea wins that one 2-0. I think they'll advance. I think South Africa doesn't have enough. Brazil should win 2-0, and then Morocco, I think they pull out a miracle in the last last minute, like a 2-1. So,
Yeah.
and then
Nobody win draw with Haiti.
moving forward, I think, like I said, we'll see what type of job Mexico gets. Will it be a Scotland? That's going to be the key. How does if they do lose, how do they bounce back especially can they adjust to the altitude in Mexico City and all that?
Is there enough beer in Mexico City for
Well,
Scotland and
they have the
Mexico?
tequila. They can give them tequila.
I mean,
or
is there
mezcal.
enough? Right?
Yeah.
They,
Going to
They-
be
they got-
interesting for sure. So, what were you saying? Go ahead, Rafa.
so they got plenty of Dos Equis and Victoria and all them. Modelo.
Good deal. All right. So, final thoughts, guys, as we start to wrap up here. Anything else you want to add? So, again, we will announce later today. We will have sometime early afternoon tomorrow. We will be having our preview show for. We will discuss results, look at day 2 of match day 3, and then, of course, our preview of the U.S. and Turkey A match, which all of a sudden kind of got tricky, right? Because it doesn't mean anything, but obviously we still have to compete. You still have to build some momentum. And then the big talk is if Christian Pulisic is good to go, probably has to get some match day minutes, right, to be fit going into the round of 32. So how does Pochettino navigate that? So final thoughts, guys. We go around the horn. Elias, we'll start with you.
Just interested to see how these. I think it's really interesting with all the third place and combinations, and it changes the brackets and all that. And we know that in the World Cup, matchups are everything. How one team plays another team is just it just changes a lot. So looking forward to the U.S. tomorrow. Same, I think, kind of situation that Mexico is in today. Where they're probably going to rotate. They're going to want to play well in front of their home fans. What does it look like if Pulisic does play?
Update. We got Brazil 2, Scotland 0.
Oh man.
There's my prediction there.
There you go. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. And then just looking forward to even beyond
The
tomorrow.
goal was called back. Sorry, Elias.
Oh, you're good. So
Oh,
1-0.
they called it back? It's still showing up 2-0 on my timeline here. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Elias.
And then just looking forward to the other games, right? Like Spain, Uruguay. That's not one we really talked about, but I'm really, as a big Spain fan, I'm looking forward to see
Yeah.
how they play. How is Lamine really? He did not. There was one ball they played into him that I think this was in March. He blows right by them. But you saw him kind of pull up on a long ball because I think he was like, okay, I'm not going to really push this hamstring. So is he up to 100% full fitness? You know, so just kind of things like that. So
He didn't play. Refresh my memory. He got subbed. He didn't play a full 90. Yamel did, right, in the last match.
played 45. I think because they were up 3-0 at halftime. I think the plan was for him to go as long as 60, but it was 3-0. They said we're not gonna risk it. So
They
you
subbed
know,
him right at half. That's probably why I don't remember it, since it was right at half. Okay.
yeah.
So interesting. So now, do we finally see Nico Williams though? That's the other question.
He's played both games already.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean significant, like
Yeah,
minutes now. You know.
I think that he's going to go 60 minutes. I think they'll have the same idea that they have. I think he's like one game day behind Lamine Yamal. So they kind of, if you notice in that first game, he only played about 5, whereas Lamine Yamal played 20. So I think he starts the next game. I think we see him come off around the halfway mark or no later than the 60-minute mark.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, they got to chase it. So, and what do you see? Do you see a local, right? Bielsa pulling out any bag of tricks? You know, in his bag, any tricks there? What do you see? What can you see him throwing at the Spain squad?
I think for him, I think we're going to see man marking because I think he's going to try to disrupt the buildup. So then you're going to have to get the ball to your players that can kind of unbalance the team. So, you know, but the caveat is if you go man for man, Lamine Yamal is going to kill you. There is no one that can deal with him 1v1. So how do you manage? I'm interested to see how he deals with managing not letting Spain have a clean build-up and not giving clear 1v1 situations for Lamine Yamal. So, but I think, you know, to be honest, I love Marcelo Bielsa, but most of his, you know, most of what he's contributed is more on the attacking side of the game, I think, you know, without taking anything away from him as a coach. I do think that his issues are in out of possession because one wrong move can kill you. The way that he's just so aggressive, I think against a team like Spain, you can't leave those things to chance. So.
Yeah. Yeah, Spain has in that second match, right? I think they had probably the prettiest goal that I've seen, in my opinion. Went amongst what I think 3 or 4 teammates, never touched the ground.
Yeah.
Just amazing goal. So, all right, Coach Heyman, Brian, what you got?
Man, it's been a fun World Cup, and being able to watch as much of it as I have the last couple of days now that I'm back home, and be able to sit down and actually watch and not be kind of just scanning a little bit, but just watching and trying to find patterns and trying to find tactics that I'm looking at. I mean, I thought Portugal was fantastic yesterday with set pieces. I think everyone's going to be copying those set pieces now. I thought Iran's set piece against Belgium was fantastic, except for the offside there. So, you know, watching little things like that as a coach. And then I'm going to give a shout out to my girlfriend because she, like I said, I was telling Hector earlier, she sat and watched Colombia and Congo with me last night, the whole game. And, you know, just asking questions about the game and being able to have moments like that, that's fun for me. Try to explain tactics and why things are going on the way they're going on. But I mean, it's just been a fun World Cup, and now we get to the part where, you know, now teams are playing for their lives in this tournament, and, you know, playing for advancement. So, you know, the intensity ramps up just another step higher, and now and then it gets you to the knockout stages, and then it's win or go home, and you know that's where the game gets so much more exciting at that point, because every mistake gets amplified, every poor touch gets amplified, every goal gets amplified, every good part about the game gets amplified, and it's what brings everyone together. And you know, I had a chance to go to the fan festival in Houston on Monday, and just seeing the amount of people that were there watching the games. And you know, my hope is to get down there sometime this weekend and just watch games with them. You know, just
Hey, now,
seeing.
where exactly did they set that up? Is that like just a couple blocks from Energy, or where is it?
No. It's over by the Dynamo Stadium. It's just south of the Dynamo Stadium in that Edo district. They've got a field set up. They've been playing 7v7 on it all so far. They've been having big tournaments and everything. They've got a big indoor area to watch the games in air conditioning. Then they've got the outdoor screens and everything. So, you know, it was really kind of cool. You know, we went Monday to try to meet Clint Dempsey, and he was supposed to be there at 3:30, and by 2:45 they had already closed the line. So hopefully we get a chance to meet some other guys. I know Kobe Jones is going to be out there Tuesday, so I don't think he's going to have the line that Clint Dempsey had. But that's my goal. I plan on being there to meet Kobe Jones because, like I told several people, he was one of my idols growing up, watching him play for the U.S. So, but no, just the whole atmosphere, the whole culture. It's been a lot of fun, and the goal is, can we just keep that going after the World Cup? Can we keep it going into MLS? Can we get more people at European watch parties, watch bars, and things like that? And can it spill over into high school for us? Can we get more kids to say, hey, you know what? I want to try soccer. I watched some of it during the World Cup. I want to come try. We get football players, or you guys get volleyball players to say, hey, I want to try it. Give it a shot and see what it's like, and can it help us grow our programs? So, it's fun. It's a fun time for all of us.
Absolutely. Well said, man. Well said. Rafa?
Just final thoughts, because I've been enjoying the games. We'll see how some interesting matchups, some fun ones, even those late night, midnight games on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Those have been fun.
Yeah.
So, especially like that Algeria Jordan game, that was a fun one to watch. Even it didn't finish till, I think my time, was like close to 1 a.m. So, but looking forward to see the outcomes for today, and then some big games coming up. Like I said, like France and Norway. That's going to be a big one to see. After the Titans there with the two strikers.
Yeah. Yeah, the storylines that develop over the course of the next couple of days, right? And I'm just curious to see which teams are continuing to grow into the tournament, right? And getting stronger, fine-tuning things. Inevitably, you go on a deep run. Every team has kind of a stinker of a game, right? It usually almost happens with everybody, right? Very rarely do you see a team just blow through, well, it used to be seven matches and just look, exceptional start to finish. But yeah, I think that's probably what I'm most excited to see. Then we got a tricky matchup with US as well. So, Poch has gone 2 for 2 in terms of just his tactical, strategy, right? What does he come up with for tomorrow, right? Because and then how does Turkey play? That's still a program with a lot of pride. They're obviously very embarrassed. Nobody saw them like being the team to be eliminated. And after only 2 matches in this group, in Group D. So how does Turkey show up? How do they play this match tomorrow as well? So, all right, that is going to do it for episode 9 of the Red, White, and Crew podcast. Again, go on. You can find us on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast, since we are a member of the 50/50 podcast network. Go on there, like, rate, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, hit that live bell notification, and you'll receive the live notification for every show that we do. Again, we'll be coming to you live tomorrow afternoon for our preview episode of the U.S. men's national team, versus Turkey. And then probably, I don't know, maybe we'll talk with the guys if they're available and sober enough. Still have a post match that night, or if not, next day. But we'll definitely bring you post match recap of the USA and Turkey matchup. So that is going to do it. So for Coach Elias Ramos, Coach Brian Heyman, and Coach Rafa Castorena, I am your host, Coach Hector Cano, and you know what to do. Until the next time, keep downloading and